In today's video, we're going to be looking at some vintage EX Pokemon cards. Alright, so like I said, we're going to be checking out some vintage EX Pokemon cards today. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering what the point of this video is. And recently I've just been checking out some of these cards and realized how cool they are. A lot of people are stuck on collecting modern cards, and I'm guilty of it as well. I have a lot of modern cards when it comes to alt arts and things like that and sealed product. But if you go back and you start checking out some of these old EX cards, it really makes you think about the rarity of these cards, like how old they are compared to, pop reports on new cards. And we're just going to be scrolling through eBay a little bit and checking out some of these deals that you can get. Now, not all of these are PSA 10, but there's still some really nice near mint vintage cards that I think would be great for people's collections. I'm personally going to pick up probably a few of these after this video that I've had my eye on. So let's go ahead, let's check out the first card here. Alright, so we have the Dragonite EX here. PSA 8 from EX Dragon. I mean, if you look at this card, such a nice card. Dragonite, people love Dragonite, and this is $275, and I can guarantee you this card in a PSA 10 is probably a few $1,000s if I had to guess. My whole thought process behind this is you're getting a vintage near mint card. It might not be a 10. You could pick it up in an 8 and still have it in a slab, and it's still a really cool card. And again, a lot of these in 10s are going to cost tons of money, but lately I've been starting to pick up some of these, and you'll come to realize that in 8s and 9s you can find some pretty good deals. One of those cards that's a good deal, for example, would be this PSA 8 Sneasel EX from Ruby and Sapphire. PSA 8 for $45. This card's from 2003. I mean, it's a near mint card. I don't know, you can't go wrong with this in my opinion. 45 bucks, sure, it might not be the most desirable Pokemon or whatever. And when I actually first saw this listing, I had to look over it and make sure that this wasn't like another language or something, like, because it was so cheap. But PSA 8 Sneasel for $45. And I know this isn't an EX card, but some of these are mixed in here, these Delta species cards. You'll see that some of these cards kind of show up when you look up EX Pokemon because they're around the same generation. This Mewtwo is so cool. PSA 8 Delta species Mewtwo. This card in a 10 is huge, but 200 bucks. 200 bucks for PSA 8. I'm sure maybe if you got it on auction, you could find another deal. Here's another card. We have from 2006 Crystal Guardians. We have Swampert EX for $130. And another thing you guys got to think about when it comes to these kinds of sets, you're not going to be able to afford, well, at least most people wouldn't be able to afford these packs to open up these kinds of cards. You got to think, you're going to buy a Crystal Guardians pack to attempt to pull one of the best cards, but say you pull Swampert, or you're looking for Swampert, you could get it for just $130 in a slab already near mint, instead of spending all that money on a Crystal Guardians pack. I don't know, I think it's really cool that you can find these cards for a pretty decent price in my opinion. Another thing too is with some of these slabs, not all of them, you might be able to find under market value or maybe slightly at or over market value for loose copy. So I have no idea what this card's valued at. We'll actually look it up on TCG Player live on video, and we're gonna see. And again, we can make an offer on this card as well, so maybe it's not 130, but let's see what Swampert EX from Crystal Guardians is near mint loose on TCG Player. Alright, so I went ahead and found the Swampert here. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull up previous sales. Hopefully we can find a near mint copy. Near mint 100, near mint 123. So 123 and 100. So not quite, we're not quite under market, but again, we could make an offer and potentially get this card for cheaper. That's not the greatest example, but always make sure you guys check out the loose values versus slab, because sometimes you might be able to find a steal. You never know. Alright, and I'm curious about this as well. I haven't really looked at many CGC cards, only PSA, but we have a Wailord EX from Sandstorm here and a CGC 8. I'm really curious to see what the price comparison is to this 8 to near mint loose value. So I'm actually going to go ahead and look that one up too. Alright, so we have the Wailord here. We're going to go ahead and look at the sold listing, see if this card's worth more or less. So it's looking like it's more graded, which probably is going to be the case for most of them. But like I said, you might get lucky and every once in a while find a listing for below market value of the card. But yeah, still lots of really cool cards on here we could go through. We could probably spend 3 hours going through all these. I mean, you guys get the point by now. Again, not an EX, but I was actually checking out getting one of these Umbreons. Such a nice hollow pattern on this card. Really nice card. Again, another Delta Species card. The Delta Species cards are really cool. If you guys have never checked those out, I highly encourage you to give them a search up on eBay, and you can take a look at all of the Delta Species cards. There is tons of cool ones. Here's another really cool card for people that like Mewtwo. Again, Ruby and Sapphire Mewtwo EX. PSA 8 for 280 bucks. Pretty good deal in my opinion. Seems to be the Ruby and Sapphire cards are less expensive. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I'm sure someone that is more knowledgeable about vintage would have an answer to that. And again, from a collectability standpoint, these are more rare. If you're looking and watching this video just to simply invest into something, if you really like investing into Pokemon, I'd be careful buying, you know, older cards, newer cards, singles altogether. Singles they're volatile, but if I'm buying these, it's just for my personal collection and I really like them. I have no intent of really trying to make a profit with them. And don't think just because these are 8 and 9s that there aren't expensive cards. We haven't really found a really expensive one yet. Like there's that Dragonite we looked at earlier. There was one up top for $275. That one's $300. But there are really expensive cards, even in an 8 and 9, and we'll look at some of those. Alright, so we do have some 10s mixed throughout here as well, but you can see this card, this is a card that I have wanted for a very long time. I don't know if I'll ever get it, but even in a PSA 8, this Espeon EX is still around over $1,000, right? They're still really expensive cards you can get, like I was saying. Another big card, and this isn't listed, this is on auction right now. So the PSA 9 Celebi EX from Unseen Forces. This is another pretty big card. You can see down here, there's the Lugia EX. That's also a very big card. And I'm sure you guys can imagine that these cards in PSA 10 they get quite expensive fairly quick. So if you really are someone like me that thinks that these cards are pretty cool and you like the artwork on them, buy them in an 8 or 9 and just throw them in your case and forget about them. So far I only have 1 or 2 cards, I believe. I have a Walrein EX from BGS 9. That's the first one I picked up at a fairly good price. You can see here's a Blastoise EX PSA 9 from Fire Red and Leaf Green. Fire Red and Leaf Green, such a cool set, but you can see $1,000 for this in a 9. And again, if you guys were feeling really daring, sure, you could probably go ahead and if you found a really nice 9, you could crack it out. PSA is grading harder right now, so I don't know if that'd be such a good idea. Plus, you're going to get hit with a pretty nice upcharge if you do 10 anything, but it might be worth it to someone to have that card as a 10 in their collection. Lugia EX from Unseen Forces, PSA 8, 900. Honestly, not too bad considering the 10 price. But still, think this is a PSA 8 and it's almost $1,000. That's crazy to think about. Here is another huge card in a PSA 10. We have Fire Red, Leaf Green, Gengar. You can see that in USD, this is about $1,500. Make an offer. Again, make sure you guys always make offers on cards. Even if there isn't an offer, always make sure you message the seller and see maybe if by some chance they're willing to negotiate on the card a little bit. There's some gold stars on here too, but we're not looking at those today, but those are really cool cards as well. So here's that Umbreon that we were looking at earlier. Actually, this is the reverse stamp, so this is probably more expensive. I believe so. Reverse stamps are more expensive. But you can see this is $4,000. Buy it now. And in the Midnight Graded Guard. Super cool card. I'm definitely going to have to pick up one of these Umbreons. You can see we have an EX Team Rocket Return Scyther. And this is currently on auction. Ends in 2 days, 1 hour. Current bid, $1,875. So yeah, guys, like I said, some of these cards worth a lot of money. Some of the other ones we might be able to get for a little cheaper. Any of them in a 10 are probably going to be pretty pricey. But I think these cards are really cool, maybe a little bit slept on. Any vintage is probably slept on if you ask the right person, because, you know, everyone just wants to collect modern alternate arts, which I'm guilty of. I do like alternate arts. I have a binder full of them, but I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to collect some of these older EXs. I don't know what my goal is with it yet, but I'm slowly starting to acquire some slabs. You know, maybe I'll eventually put together a master set of like all the EX cards, PSA 8 through 10, whatever. And when I say 8 through 10, I don't mean 8, 9, and 10. I just mean like a mix of 8s, 9s, and 10s. Maybe I'll put it together, but I don't know. Be something cool to collect. I think the cards are really cool. They're rare. Definitely would be a nice collection piece. So yeah, maybe switch it up, look into some vintage. And if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and join our Discord, where we talk about things like this pretty frequently. We have all the best channels in there for news, restocks, updates, anything you could think of. If you haven't joined already, the link for the Discord is down in the description of the video. That's going to be all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you please like, comment, subscribe. Anything helps, and I'll see you on the next one.